Hello, students and families. It's Miss Bailey here. I just want to say I miss you all so much. I think about you all every single day, and I really hope that you are healthy. I hope that your families are healthy, and that you are dealing with this time as best as we can. I know I have been really missing school, and I know that might not be the case for all, but learning and reading is still important even when we're out of school. So I have thought of an idea to create a book club through YouTube where I will be reading different chapters of our first book, The Weston Game, asking questions and making some projects that we all can do from our homes, and you can submit your answers to my email or to my cell phone. I will be trying to reward students that are participating by giving them different shout outs or prizes as we go along. So let's jump right in to our first chapter in The Weston Game. If you bought this book off Amazon, thank you so much for doing that. It is only $5. If you can afford to get it, I would love if you could read along with me. If you cannot get the book, please reach out to me and I will find a way to get that book to you. However, if you don't have it today, do not worry. You can just read along or listen along with me, and I encourage you, whether you have the book or you don't, to be writing down our gist. Now, does anyone remember what gist is? I know I'll be talking to myself a lot, but hopefully you're answering, letting me know that you remember that gist is the who, the what, the where, and the why of what we're reading. Just the main idea of the purpose. So, I'm going to start with chapter 1, then we'll talk about some questions and some vocabulary and our first project. Let's get started. Chapter 1 is called Sunset Towers. The sun sets in the west. Just about everyone knows that. But Sunset Towers faced east. Strange. Sunset Towers faced east and had no towers. This glittery, glassy apartment house stood alone on Lake Michigan, shore, 5 stories high. 5 empty stories high. Then one day, it happened to be the 4th of July, a most uncommon looking delivery boy rode around town, slipping letters under the doors of the chosen tenants-to-be. The letters were signed Barney Northrop. The delivery boy was 62 years old, and there was no such person as Barney Northrop. This is what the letter said. Dear lucky one, here it is, the apartment you've always dreamed of, at a rent you can afford, in the newest, most luxurious building on Lake Michigan. Sunset Towers. Picture windows in every room, uniform doorman, maid service, central air conditioning, high-speed elevator, exclusive neighborhood near excellent schools, etc., etc. You have to see it to believe it, but these unbelievably elegant apartments will be shown by appointment only. So hurry, there are only a few left. Call me now at 276-7474 for this once-in-a-lifetime offer. Your servant, Barney Northrop. P.S. I am also renting ideal space for doctor's office and lobby, coffee shop with entrance and parking lot, high-class restaurant on an entire top floor. So one of our vocabulary words that we're going to be talking about today is this word, everyone say it, luxurious. So based on what I've read so far, using my context clues, or using your context clues, what do you think luxurious in the letter means? I'll go back to it. The most luxurious building on Lake Michigan. The newest, most luxurious building. And then it bullet points different parts of the new apartment, like picture windows, uniform doorman. So if someone's in a uniform, I think of someone really fancy or serious. Central air conditioning, I know, is very nice and makes you have a very comfortable space to live in. Exclusive neighborhood near excellent schools. So far, all the bullet points under luxurious are showing positive or really, really nice and fancy things. So I want you to take a second and write down what you think, using those context clues, would be a good definition for luxurious. Take about 30 seconds to do that. Okay, so the definition that I would use for luxurious is very comfortable and expensive. Expensive meaning that they spend a lot of money. I hope that you have pen and paper so that you can write down these responses and send them in through email or text, because it's okay if you have a definition that's a little bit different than mine, and I'd like to see what you came up with. So let's keep reading. 6 letters were delivered, just 6. 6 appointments were made, and one by one, family by family, talk, 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 Barney Northrop led the tours around and about Sunset Towers. Take a look at all that glass. One-way glass, Barney Northrop said. You can see out, nobody can see in. Looking up, the Wexlers, which is the first appointment of the day, were blinded by the blast of morning sun that flashed off the face of the building. See those chandeliers? Crystal? Barney Northrop said, slicking his black mustache and straightening his hand-painted tie in the lobby's mirrored wall. How about this carpeting? 3 inches thick? Gorgeous, Mrs. Wexler replied, clutching her husband's arm as her high heels wobbled in the deep plush pile. She too managed an approving glance in the mirror before the elevator door opened. You're really in luck, Barney Northrop said. There's only one apartment left, but you'll love it. It was meant for you. He flung open the door to 3D. Now is that breathtaking, or is that breathtaking? Mrs. Wexler gasped. It was breathtaking, all right. 2 walls of the living room were floor-to-ceiling glass. So as we read, we want to picture and visualize what's happening in the book, just like we see when we watch a movie. So if you picture floor-to-ceiling glass, there's no wall there. It's just glass. It's see-through. So to me, that does kind of go along with luxurious. It sounds really expensive or fancy. All right, let's keep reading. Following Barney Northrop's lead, she oohed and ahed her joyous way through the entire apartment. Her trailing husband was less enthusiastic. What's this, a bedroom or a closet? Jake Wexler asked, peering into the last room. It's a bedroom, of course, his wife replied. It looks like a closet. Oh, Jake, this apartment is perfect for us, just perfect. Grace Wexler argued in a whining coo. The 3rd bedroom was a trifle small, but it would do just fine for Turtle. And think what it means having your office in the lobby, Jake. No more driving to and from work, no more mowing the lawn or shoveling snow. Let me remind you, Barney Northrop said, the rent here is cheaper than what your old house cost in upkeep. So if he's saying an upkeep of what the old house was, that means keeping up with something. Maybe they had to do the lawn outside. Maybe they had to fix up different things inside the house, which can grow into costing a lot of money. So I guess living here, they probably wouldn't have to do those things. And what we know about Barney is he's trying to sell the house So he's trying to say things that would make them feel what? Make them feel maybe like they would want to live there, that they do agree with him and see his sides, his point of view. But something weird is about to happen. How would he know that? Jake wondered. Which is true. If Barney's just meeting them for the first time, why would he know about what they used to pay at their old house? Or the house that they live in now, I should say. Grace stood before the front window, where beyond the road, beyond the trees, Lake Michigan lay calm and glistening. A lake view. Just wait until those so-called friends of hers with their classy houses see this place. The furniture would have to be reupholstered. No, she'd buy new furniture, beige velvet, and she'd have stationery made, blue with a decal edge, her name and fancy address in swirling type across the top. Grace Wexler, Sunset Towers on the lake shore. So based on that reading, I feel like Grace really wants to live there. But the man, Jake, he doesn't really seem like he's that impressed with everything. So let's see what happens. Not every tenant-to-be was quite as overjoyed as Grace Windsor Wexler. Arriving in the late afternoon, Sidel Pulaski looked up and saw only the dim, warped reflections of treetops and drifting clouds in the glass face of Sunset Towers. "You're really in luck," Barney Northrop said for the sixth and last time. "There's only one apartment left, but you'll love it. It was meant for you." He flung open the door to a one-bedroom apartment in the rear. Now, is that breathtaking, or is that breathtaking? Already we've heard this before, so he's saying the same thing to every single tenant. A tenant is a vocabulary word for this chapter. I want you to use your context clues, which means looking around the word to see what can help us understand what the word tenant means if you've never heard of it before. Your very last thing that you should do is look it up on Google. Try your best to use your context clues and find what tenant means. Think about all the different tenant-to-be's that we've heard. And that can be one of your words that you submit to me in your responses. Let me keep reading. Let me find my spot. Not especially, Sidel Pulaski replied as she blinked into the rays of the summer sun setting behind the parking lot. She had waited all these years for a place of her own. And here it was, in an elegant building where rich people lived. But she wanted a lake view. "The front apartments are taken," Barney Northrop said. "Besides, the rent's too steep for a secretary's salary. Believe me, you'll get the same luxuries." That's another form of luxurious, which means comfortable and expensive. "You'll get the same luxuries Sorry guys, I'm still trying to... Okay. "You'll get the same luxuries here at a third of the price. At least the view from the side window was pleasant." "Are you sure nobody can see in?" Sidel Pulaski asked. "Absolutely," Barney Northrop said, following her suspicious state to the mansion on the north cliff. "That's just the old Westinghouse up there. It hasn't been lived in for 15 years. Well, I'll have to think it over. I have 20 people begging for this apartment," Barney Northrop said, lying through his buck teeth. "Take it or leave it." So just like he was doing with Jake and Grace Windsor, he's doing the same thing to this woman whose name's Sidel. He's trying to sell these apartments. He really wants them to live there. So he's saying things to her like all these people are looking at them, but really she's the only one. "I'll take it." Oh, so she falls for it. She's gonna take it. Whatever else he was, Barney Northrop was a good salesman. In one day, he had rented all of Sunset Towers to the people whose names were already printed in the mailboxes in an alcove off the lobby. So we have a list now of everyone that's going to live in these apartments. In the office is Dr. Wexler, which he's not really living in the apartment, but he's going to have his office there. In the lobby is Theodorakis Coffee Shop. In apartment 2C is F. Bombach. 2D, Theodorakis, same people as the coffee shop. 3C, S. Pulaski. 3D, Wexler. 4C is Who, HOO. 4D is JJ Ford, and 5 is Shin-Hoo's Restaurant. Who were these people? These specially selected tenants. There's a vocabulary word again, that's another way you can use the context clue. Who were these tenants? They were mothers and fathers and children, a dressmaker, a secretary, an inventor, a doctor, a judge, and oh yes, one was a bookie, one was a burglar, one was a bomber, and one was a mistake. Barney Northrup had rented one of the apartments to the wrong person. So we don't know why yet, but those things like burglar and bomber, those sound negative to me, which makes me feel like whoever these people are living in the apartment may be dangerous or like something might go wrong. So we will find out. This is a mystery book. So this whole time we're going to be trying to figure out a mystery, kind of like figure out a puzzle. So since they listed so many different characters and all those different apartments that they were talking about in Sunset Towers, I made a small project out of construction paper where I just made something that looked like an apartment to me, which is usually a house or a tall building that has a lot of little houses or rooms where people live inside of it. So I made this tall building, and here are all the different levels and rooms in the apartment building where people live. I made it kind of like we did in our interactive notebooks, where we made flaps by cutting a little piece of it up in half so that it can flap open and we can write underneath it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a second to write in where everyone lives so that as I'm reading I can keep track of that in my head. So I'm going to take my pen. I'm going to do that. If you would like to make, I can't really see if you can see this perfectly, but if you want to make your own copy of this, it was pretty easy. I just had a piece of construction paper. I labeled all the floors, and like I said, I cut it open so it can flap open. So I'm going to write those down. In the office is Dr. Wexler. The lobby is that coffee shop. I think it's pronounced Theodorakis Coffee Shop. Then we had 2C, F. Bomb Batch. And 2D, the family that owns the coffee shop, the Theodorakis. 3C is S. Pulaski. That was the lady that we heard from that was trying to figure out if she wanted to buy it. The Wexler family in 3D. In 4C, we have someone or a family named Who, HOO. And then in 4D, JJ Ford. And in the 5th floor, we have Shin-Hoo's Restaurant. Oh, so that's probably the Who family is also living there that owns the restaurant. So if you make your own version of the Sunset Towers, please email it to me, a picture of it, or text me a picture so that I can share those and take a look at them and maybe see if you make a better one or the best one, you could get a prize. And this will help us kind of remember who's on each floor. Okay, so our comprehension questions for day 1, chapter 1, are these 2 questions right here. Number 1, what is the setting? Now I want you to think back, what is a setting? Setting is a part of a story. I'll give you a couple seconds to think about that. Okay, I ask that when you're responding to these questions that you use the RACE method, which is R stands for restate, A stands for answer, C stands for cite evidence, and E stands for explain. So if I'm answering this, I want to start in my complete restate. The setting is. Question number 2. What makes Barney such a good salesman? And I talked about this a little bit. There are some things that Barney does that make him a good salesman. Think about what he's trying to sell and the ways that he sells that. Then our 2 vocabulary words, I'd like to see your definition for tenant and luxurious. So what you can submit to me for day 1, chapter 1, is your answers to the 2 comprehension questions, our 2 vocabulary words, and if you can, try to make your own sunset tower with labels of who lives where, so that way we can keep track of it. I really hope to hear from you. I hope that you either come on Zoom to talk with me about the book. My office hours on Zoom are Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10:30 to 11:30. Or you can just email me back the picture or have your parent or yourself send it to my cell phone. And I'll be leaving my cell phone number in the email that I send out on Mondays. All right, students, thank you for joining me for our first day of virtual learning. I had fun even though you're not here, but I hope that I get some responses so it feels like you are here. All right, have a wonderful, wonderful day, and thank you for participating.